record it. So thank you very much, Ori Goldberg, for agreeing for this interview and for also for agreeing to share your insight on this very, very important story about the recent booklet published by Buchenwald Memorial, which identifies various signs and slogans as anti-Semitic or linked to far-right extremism. While I have gone through their booklet, it's in German, I use Google Translate to be able to understand it. While many of the symbols, I would say, listed are clearly problematic, others like Ceasefire Now, Stop Genocide, or Palestinian symbols such as key or olive branch raise important questions, about overreach and interpretation. So what do you think about it? I mean, given your expertise in Middle East and especially in Jewish identity, so how do you view this?
With shame. The fact that the fact that Israel wishes to cheapen anti-Semitism to such a degree, and that it exerts its influence in an attempt to make concepts that are related to peace or political expression or political freedom anti-Semitic because they're in opposition to Israeli policy or Israeli actions, are, I find it shameful. I'm embarrassed as a Jew and as an Israeli. And I think there are a lot of Jews in the world who feel the same as I do, even while there are a lot of Jews who feel that it's true, that any attempt to critique Israel is anti-Semitic. But that was never the case, to the best of my knowledge. And again, the fact that Israel wants to monopolize the notion of anti-Semitism, that Israel wants to basically erase the importance of Jewish existence outside Israel, I find it remarkably embarrassing.
But only in Germany's historical context, how should we understand the line between legitimate criticism of Israeli policy and anti-Semitism? Because that memorial was built on the site of a former Nazi concentration camp.
I don't think it's that difficult, actually. I think I don't think there is a similarity between Israel and Judaism, first of all. Okay, let me put it this way. I think the burden of proof lies on the shoulders of those who want to equate Israel and Judaism, not the other way around. Because I don't think there's ever been a synonymity between Israel and Judaism. I think Judaism is broader than Israel. I think half the world's Jews live outside Israel. It doesn't matter what sort of fealty they have to Israel. Judaism outside Israel has always been very different than from Judaism inside Israel. So I think anybody who wants to establish that a criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic has to prove in a very clear way that the criticism levied against Israel amounts to anti-Semitism, which is a criticism that is directed at all Jews because they are Jews and not because of specific actions or specific policies or specific political contexts. I don't think it's that difficult. But I think the main point is that it's the people who claim that any critique of Israel is anti-Semitism who have to prove it on a case-by-case basis.
But is it fair? Let's say, if I may ask you, is it fair to interpret symbols like or slogan "Ceasefire Now"? Why or why not?
No, I really don't think it's fair. I think it's biased, and I think it's deceitful. And again, I think what's at stake is Jewish supremacy. The notion of Jewish supremacy, which is so key to the state of Israel. The idea that Israel is a Jewish state and that Jewish lives are worth more, and that what happens to Jews is Israel's main interest, and it is more important than anything that happens to non-Jews. And I think the last 2 years in Gaza have demonstrated that. Because I think the last 2 years in Gaza are characterized by a complete disregard for the lives of anybody who isn't Jewish, for Palestinian lives. You know, no restrictions on what Israel calls collateral damage. The fact that there's a Hamas operative somewhere allows Israel to kill as many bystanders and civilians as it wants. And of course, always the thin line between Israel regrets having killed civilians and the notion that is constantly floated by Israeli politicians and public figures that there are no innocents in Gaza. So I think it's completely unfair to call slogans like ceasefire now anti-Semitic. By the way, I also think that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is not anti-Semitic. I think Israel is an occupying power. I think the notion that it's an anti-Semitic slogan is based on a very racist notion that should Palestinians enjoy political freedom, the first thing they will do is kill all the Jews. I don't see any basis for this notion.
So that's very powerful. I think I had lost my audio for a while, but I think that should be okay. Can you hear me now, right?
Okay.
My audio.
Yeah.
So, but Germany is a secular country, right? And this
Yeah.
Buchenwald Memorial, while it's a significant, it has its significance. So, how important is it for such a memorial to issue a booklet identifying signs of anti-Semitism? Do you think it creates more problems, or how do you view it? How important is it?
I think it's significant, but I'll tell you the truth. I think at this stage, nobody really hears anything. You know, there's no capacity to listen. There's no capacity to have a complex discussion. I think in normal times it would be very important, but I think now, you know, the lines are drawn, and I am on one side of the line, and most of the Israelis are on the other side in that sense. Um, I wish it was more important than it is now. I wish I could say that, you know, people are listening and people are taking the time and people are doing what has to be done as a result of this discussion in a place like Buchenwald. But truthfully, I don't think it's there.
Do you think it damages the memory of Holocaust in a way?
Yes, but again, I think it's a symptom, not the disease itself. It's not the specific event. I think the Holocaust has been cheapened mostly by Israel for a long time. And I think that the Hamas massacre from October 7th, 2023, has greatly promoted Israel's cheapening and damaging of the Holocaust because Israel tied it directly to the Holocaust. I mean, Israel's been accused of genocide. Hamas has not been accused of genocide. That's not coincidental. Israel is the one who's been perpetrating genocide. But Israel has been using the Holocaust as kind of a trump card that, you know, you can't tell us anything because we have to, you know, we've got the Holocaust and you still owe us.
Yeah. So, so uh, what are the risks, both politically and morally, of conflating calls of ceasefire with hate speech or comparing it with the memory of Holocaust?
What are can you ask me again? I'm sorry, I missed the second word.
No worries. No worries. So, what are the risks, both politically and morally, of conflating calls for ceasefire with hate speech and linking it to the memory of Holocaust?
The risks are exactly what we're seeing, that a country like Israel can decide it has absolute legitimacy to use violence, lethal violence, in any way it wants, whenever it wants, because it's got this trump card of the Holocaust. You know we are the victims. Oh, you know, let me put it in a more abstract way. The risk is that it will turn the victim into the aggressor. And almost automatically so. The victim will feel that the only way of for instilling meaning in his suffering is becoming an aggressor, is taking revenge, and will be completely oblivious to the existence of many other options. I think that's a major risk because that immediately excludes, you know, diplomacy, dialogue, even more limited hostile reaction.
So, just to put two final questions from your answer. So, in your view, what would be a more balanced approach for institution like Buchenwald Memorial when addressing Israeli-Palestinian symbolism?
I think the Buchenwald Memorial should strive to emphasize the universal message of the Holocaust and not to take sides in a partisan, not to take a partisan stand in an argument between two warring parties. I think the Holocaust was an event at a universal scale, and any attempt to narrow it down to a reference point for criticism in what is ultimately a political, well, it's not just a, I was going to say it's a political struggle, but it's not just a political struggle, it's a criminal offense. Most scholars in the world agree that Israel is committing genocide. The fact that the Buchenwald Memorial sides with even would be or suspected genocidaires is horrible, and it cheapens the memory of the Holocaust incredibly.
Yeah. So, Ori, as an Israeli, as a Jew, and I think you also come from a Holocaust surviving family, right? If I'm not mistaken.
To
No,
some extent, well, pretty much all of us do.
but as an Israeli, as a Jew, uh, do these symbols, ceasefire now, stop genocide, end the apartheid, end the occupation, bother you on an individual level?
No, they really don't. They really don't. I think they're signs of a political struggle. I'm a big fan of politics. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe everybody should say whatever they want, even the people on the hard Israeli right who are directly opposed to me. I do, and I think that this curtailing the free speech, this limiting the free speech, is what bothers me, not the use of. I mean, I'm okay with the Israeli right saying the most venomous things about Palestinians, about Israel's genocide. I don't think the state should curtail freedom of speech, and the fact that it does, that's what bothers me.
All right. Ori, thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
And
my pleasure. You know where to find me if you want to do this again.
sure,
Just
thank you so
text me.
much. Sure.
Sure, my
I'm just going
pleasure.
to send you a
Good
draft as
luck.
well. Please take care.
Okay, good luck. Sure,
Thanks.
good luck.
Bye bye.